is awesome.
Oh, fuck, hey. Good to see you among the living, man. Check it out. It's the latest talent mix.
Thanks, Pete.
Good to see you all among the living. Hello and welcome everybody to The Talent Mix. It's a Smallville recap podcast, and you can find out more about how to join us for our live recordings at talentmix.show. Once again, that's talentmix.show. I'm Brian, here as always with my pal Zach. What's going on, man?
Not much. Just I was just reminiscing about that time in high school where I tried to kill my friend with an axe and then got suspended.
So weird. Something like that maybe happens in the television show that we're about to talk about.
Art imitates life sometimes.
Before we get too into that, we have a guest. You know her. She's returning guest. Maybe first returning guest. Is that accurate?
She's already returned once.
This is her third. Certainly the first third timer guest. Mm-hmm. We should have. It's Cam Godfrey.
Hi,
Cam. We should get you like SNL when they give you like the 5-timer jacket. We should make a jacket more expensive than anything we've spent on this show so far.
I would wear it with so much pride.
You'd have to wear it every day. You'd have to get it stitched to your body.
Of course, and I would. You don't even need to tell me to do that.
I know. That'd be obvious. Cam, how are you?
I'm great. I am honored is the word I would use. I am.
Did Brian call you and was like, if I have to do one more show by myself with this fucking guy, I swear
that's obviously what happened.
I wasn't supposed to tell you, but yeah, that is exactly what he said.
Kim, what were the previous episodes that you watched? To the best of your recollection.
Oh, God.
She watched the one where Chloe and Pete, where the thing stabs them in the cave, and they basically have the same effect as red kryptonite, only they're not on red kryptonite. But then they give Clark red kryptonite, and Pete says, "Damn, Chloe, I didn't know you had all that going on." In the car.
Great episode.
And the kid who died in the cave had the worst picture ever in the newspaper. I remember that vividly.
To be very honest with you, I was very surprised when Zach said I've been on this show twice.
Wonderful.
I know that I've seen at least an episode of Smallville before this, but I can't imagine the two were different.
Wonderful. Before we get too into Smallville stuff, hey, Zach, what have you been watching this week?
Start the timer. Set it for 20 minutes.
Oh, we did have one thing we wanted to talk about.
I've been, as you know, and as I've been telling the listeners, I've been watching Star Wars movies.
Right.
I started with one, and then now I just watched Last Jedi.
Did you go into it intending to watch all of them, or was it just like, I'll do the next one? I
was intending to watch all the Lucas ones.
Got it.
And then I got to the end, and I was like, you know what?
You're here.
It's time to give these Disney sequels a second chance, free from expectation.
Sure.
And just like, how are they on their own terms?
Sure.
Yes. I watched Force Awakens last week. I do not like that movie. I think there is enough talent involved to where I would still give like 2.5 stars. Like, it's not terrible.
Right.
And there's plenty to enjoy, but I'm not a fan.
I'm a bigger fan than you, but like every criticism you're giving it, I don't disagree with, you know?
Yes. And Last Jedi, when I saw it in theaters, I remember really enjoying the first half. And then by the end of it, I was like, I'm exhausted. This is too long. And I still kind of feel that way. And there's some humor stuff that, like, some of the humor doesn't land on me. It's a little too cutesy or whatever.
Sure.
But it is night and day better than The Force Awakens. And it is by far the best of the Disney sequels. And I just want to take a minute to talk about the people who hate this movie. or as they're more commonly known, incels.
Real fast, Cam, are you familiar with The Last Jedi? I assume you know the discourse around it, but
I have seen one or two of the 3 Disney sequels, and then Great. So I've either seen The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi or both.
Got it.
And they obviously had a big impact on me because I remember which ones I've seen and what happened in them.
All right, Zach, Last Jedi, timer set, go.
Yeah, no. So I definitely was kidding about that. If you dislike Last Jedi, I disliked it when I first saw it. It does not mean you're an incel or you're a douchebag. But if you disliked it because it changed things or it wasn't reverent enough or any of that bullshit, do you not realize that the movie is fucking about you? That's what the movie is about.
It is the literal text of the movie.
Yes. Like, if you have problems with the plot pacing, the length, like I do, any number of things, that's fine.
Which I'll also throw out there is a Rian Johnson problem, and I say that as a fan of Rian Johnson. I think it has the same problems as every other Rian Johnson movie, except Knives Out, which I think is pretty tight.
Yes, but Knives Out has the humor stuff that I'm like, it's a little too cutesy for me. And a lot of people love it. That's great.
Right.
And then secondly, these same people who hate the movie for that reason also say it's like not Star Wars-y at all. It is by far the most Star Wars-y of these Disney sequels.
Right.
I think the problem is that group of people went in and they're like, this is to be taken seriously. And it's like, sure, but also all the other ones were silly as fuck. Like, did you not know that they were silly as fuck?
I don't mean this as a Star Wars fan, I don't mean this in a negative way at all. Star Wars is stupid. It's like real stupid. In a fun whiz-bang retro-futurism way,
Yes.
Like, it's imagination first. At its best, it's imagination first, and then logic retroactively works because, like, what I came up with was cool.
Right. And The Last Jedi has some very George Lucas-y touches of just, like, random, absurd alien shit.
Yes.
Which I'm like, yes, give me that. Give me that. And then I just want to say, I thought John Williams kind of phoned it in with Force Awakens a little bit, but his score for Last Jedi is dope. I really think it's some of his best work in the last
I agree.
decade.
I like this Rebecca Ronnie thing in the chat here. They have jizz music. You think they take themselves seriously? It is true. The music they are playing in the cantina is George Lucas has called it jizz. Jizz.
It's supposed to be a play on jazz, but he didn't realize that was
jizz.
What is it? Oh,
it's jizz. The style. I
love jizz music. I love jizz music just everywhere.
I love
jizz music. So.
Yeah.
I have a broader question. Zach, if that's interrupting a thought you're having, let me know. But
as long as we're not moving on from Last Jedi.
No. Okay. How do you feel? I think a point of controversy, and it's one that really is stuck in my craw because I disagree with it so hard. How do you feel about Luke Skywalker in the movie?
That is the best part of the movie.
I agree.
Like, I'm not crazy about the slow-mo space chase. Not like I like it, but also it doesn't make any fucking none of the logic in that makes any fucking sense. Even for a Star Wars movie,
it's a
whoa,
little.
guys.
There's stuff that's a little rough.
Yeah. Then the Canto Bite, I'm fine. Whatever. I like Benicio del Toro a lot.
Right.
But the Luke stuff is solid. Really solid. It's the best.
It almost feels like everything
movie.
else was built around the cool fucking Luke stuff.
Yeah.
I gotta talk about the chase real fast though. A lot of people, the most common thing I see in regards to the chase, which is one of the main plot lines of the movie, which is very Empire in the way of like it has several different storylines happening.
Yeah.
People are like, you're telling me that this Empire or the First Order ship can't catch up to this little. I don't know. The people said that the fictional spaceship can't, and I believe them. Because this is fake.
Right.
Where do we have the schematics of the First Order ship that says that it should? If they're like, hey, they're not catching up, I believe them.
I definitely did when at the beginning of the movie when those big slow bombers come in. I was like, why are they so fucking slow? It's space. Just go.
Yeah.
But then I was like, oh, it's Star Wars. It's not science fiction.
That's another huge Star Wars thing. Star Wars is fantasy.
Right. Yeah.
As long as you're consistent within your own rules, and that's where I feel like the slow-mo chase, there's a few things I had questions about, but who gives a fuck?
There's one other thing. In that early sequence, I was arguing with a friend about Last Jedi, who didn't like it for similar reasons of you. Like, it was slow and but like there's an opening sequence that is reminiscent of like old World War II footage, which is a major sort of nostalgia point of Star Wars. Star Wars is very based around dogfighting movies and war footage. But there's a bit where they like drop bombs from the and my friend was like, "You're telling me in space? Like, there's no how would the bombs drop?" And literally, at the moment, I was just like, "Oh, there's a whole thing in Star Wars about these magnet technologies that draw the bomb." It was like, "Oh, okay." Like, no, I just made that up, but like, you can just fucking do that. Like, that took me 2 seconds. Come on.
Right.
It's fucking make 'em ups.
It's supposed to be like World War II imagery, but in space. Like, it's fine. For the Luke Skywalker thing, it drives me nuts that everyone is all like Rian Johnson ruined it because they made Luke run away or whatever. And I'm like, what other fucking reason was he on that island? He got handed Luke is on this island.
Right.
As a story plot from J.J. Abrams.
Right.
What other fucking reason was he there? Like, was a curse kept him on the island or something?
You know what's interesting is I'm sure you know this, or maybe you don't. Apparently, they intended to make Luke a larger part of Force Awakens. The writer at the time, it's the guy who wrote Little Miss Sunshine. Yeah. He wrote a script. His script is not the credited script. But I'm sure there are pieces of it in there somewhere. But like he was finding anytime there was a problem, Luke fixed it. And it was just like, Luke's got to get out of here. The cool Jedi Master's got to go.
Yeah, totally. But then you hand the next guy, Luke is on an island. Like, you could have had him be captive or something. That would have been different. But what is Rian Johnson supposed to do? And I do appreciate that Rian Johnson, it seems like he had the same reaction as me when he saw The Force Awakens, which is, really?
Yeah.
We're fucking doing all this shit again? And so he takes the storyline he's given, and he also says, okay, but from now on, we're doing something different.
Right.
And then J.J. Abrams says, no, we're not.
Which the thesis, I think the thesis of the movie, or an argument of the movie, I think it's incorrect to say like the movie doesn't kind of have a final statement, but Luke throws the Force Awakens ends with the new protagonist, Rey, landing on the island of Ahch-To, finding the wayward Luke Skywalker and presenting him his lightsaber from the original trilogy. Boom, credits. We have to wait 2 years to find out what happens next. So Last Jedi opens up. And Rey hands Luke his Skywalker, and he throws it over his shoulder off a cliff, which is the exact last thing I think anybody guessed would happen. Which is, I think for some people, and the whole movie is kind of making an aim for like, let's just throw out what you thought was going to happen. Right. Which, for some people, is very scary. I don't know what to think about this. But it's exciting when you don't know what's coming or when things go in a different direction.
Yeah. Yep. Cam, you have clearly been developing your thoughts for a little bit here, and you're about to drop some real opinions on us.
Yes, I have been working in the lab trying to invent some Star Wars thoughts. And what I've come up with is if you don't like it for bad reasons, I think it was a good movie, and if you don't like it for good reasons, I think it was a bad movie, and that's my opinion on the last.
Great.
Like, yeah.
I just want to note to the chat rebelling right now. Get ready, because we got fucking Rise of Skywalker talk coming next week, baby.
Yeah. Oh my God, Cam, you're coming back to sit through that.
Yep. I'm not gonna watch the movie. I'm just sit through that one.
And like this is no surprise, I think, to anybody. I can just talk about Star Wars. It's at any point there is a thought on my top level brain. So they can just be like, tell me something about Star Wars. I'm like, yeah, I got shit I want to talk about.
Right. And also, to be fair, Brian and I did not have a podcast when Last Jedi came out, so we couldn't be part of that discourse and really drop our knowledge on people. And okay, Cam, what have you been watching? Anything interesting?
I wish I remembered that this was a question that you ask every time, because I would have watched something that's less embarrassing to talk about.
Great.
I've been watching a show called Hung on HBO.
Oh,
Max.
yeah, that was popular for a little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
What's the guy's name? Thomas
Jane.
Thomas Jane. Yeah. Well, the reason why I'm watching it is the same reason I've watched a lot of weird things, which is because the main thing that can get me to watch anything is that there's a character from something else I like, or there's an actor from something else I like in it. And that is the main motivation behind literally everything I ever watch. My favorite show, I think we've talked about it, is The Expanse, which I watched because War and Peace from Sky High is the main character. And I watched Hung because Thomas Jane was in The Expanse, and everything I watch, all the media I engage with, people I love and trust will give me recommendations, and I'll be like, maybe. But for the main reason I watch anything is because someone from something else was in it.
Cam,
and that's why I'm watching Hung.
Cam, I want to throw a football here. Zach, I realize I shouldn't do this live with no consultation, but I'm just going to throw this football here. Cam, Jensen Ackles of Supernatural, which I know that you are a fan of.
Guilty.
Will join Smallville in season 4 as a main cast member. In the credits.
He's in every episode of this season.
I do know that, and when you mentioned this show to me before I ever came on this podcast, I was like, oh yeah, Jensen Ackles was in that. And that was the one thing I knew about Smallville.
What if, I'm just hopping this out there live, what if for all of season 4, you joined us as a guest host?
Look at her, she does not want to. You can see it on her face.
No, I actually deeply would love that very much. I think.
Do it.
All right, we'll talk. Yes. We'll talk.
I'm going to tell you right now, I fucking love season 4 of Smallville, and it was generally the most hated at the time because it leans into the silly. And I'm like, what do you think we've been doing here, guys? This is fucking silly.
I will say
into it.
That I will not watch anything to catch up to season 4.
I don't think you should. I don't think you should.
I will have seen. I will have seen 3 episodes of before season 4, and then all of season 4.
Yes. Also, season 4 is when we get Lois Lane, baby.
Which, favorite. I have some I have some things to talk about in regards to that with this very episode.
Yes.
I watched something this week.
What have you been watching this week?
I'll keep it pretty brief. I've been watching a lot of Joe Bob Briggs on Shudder. It's called The Last Drive-In. It's basically I've renewed some affection for horror hosts. Cable TV, bad horror movies, the interstitials before commercials, usually some sort of character come on and be like, this is the movie. Here's a fun fact about the movie. Joe Bob Briggs, TNT's Monster Vision was my favorite. And they've kind of rebooted his show on the streaming service Shudder. And I've been watching a lot of that. So basically, they have the movie, and then there are interstitials where Joe Bob Briggs, who is sort of this redneck drive-in movie critic, and he gives interesting fun facts about the movie you're watching. And I've been watching a lot of that while I've been working and stuff, and I've gotten to see a lot of weird movies that I probably wouldn't have watched otherwise, one of which was 1981's The Monster Club. Which is a British film starring Vincent Price. It is an anthology film, and for 10 minutes, I thought maybe it was the best movie I had ever fucking seen. It's basically the idea here is that a horror writer gets ambushed by a vampire. The actual like British horror writer whom all of the stories in the anthology are based on.
I was gonna say, is every main character in an 80s horror movie a horror writer?
I think so.
Because Stephen King that's like 90% of his book.
So he is attacked by a vampire, Vincent Price, who is so starstruck by meeting his favorite writer that he invites him to the Monster Club, a nightclub full of monsters, and he to help him get more ideas for more stories. So it is a mix of little anthology stories and just musical acts at this nightclub. So basically there's this wraparound story in between each sort of anthology segment. So here's the thing about the Monster Club. Every nightclub segment is 10 out of 10. Possibly one of my favorite movie things I've seen this year. The anthology stories are forgettable to find. Like none of them are bad. None of them blew my mind.
It sounds like we need a sequel, Brian. We need a sequel to this or a remake. Give me more anthologies and club stuff.
I love it.
I read your review on Letterboxd for this, and then I looked up the movie, and I was like, why have I never fucking heard of this movie before?
So I actually know why, because I had not heard of it either, and it's got kind of a cult reputation, but it never debuted theatrically in the U.S. It had a limited UK release. It bombed. It was absolutely very poorly received. But like 4 or 5 years later, it debuted on cable for the first time, and it just sort of like lived there.
Well, if it wasn't released in America, it doesn't count as a movie.
There you go.
So.
No, it debuted on, speaking of horror hosts, it debuted on Elvira's Movies Macabre.
Brian, I feel like host of like that role of host of horror, like cheesy horror movie night, that is like that is your job. Like you should be doing that.
I literally had the thought, like as I've been kind of like diving back, because I also loved it in high school. I also feel like I missed an opportunity for that.
Yeah, it's that like really you would be fucking fantastic.
I do wish some version of that existed because I would deeply.
When that dude moves on, then you are the heir apparent.
I'm gonna start showing public access horror movies on Twitch.
Yes, great.
Oh man, I do want it. The thing is, I do want to do that real fucking bad. I guess. Anybody else got anything? Should we do anything else?
A few more Last Jedi thoughts.
I have so many more. We have to do that. Just start.
Yeah, we'll do a Star Wars.
The Talon Mix presents all the Star Wars stuff no one cared about.
Just to get it out of our system so that we don't ever spend more time talking about it on the Talon Mix.
I would love to guest on that just to heckle, if that's okay with you guys.
Yes, absolutely. Do you also want to be a part of our Mission Impossible podcast?
Yeah. But I'll just be on my phone and not paying attention until I hear something that I hate, and then I'll yell at you guys. You saw the polite version of me listening to you talk about Star Wars, but that's the last time that happens.
Cam, I didn't know you were going to be here this week, so I had all these Last Jedi thoughts I had to get out.
No, it's fine.
Now, here's the thing. Our Star Wars opinions, I think, are very level and adult. Mm-hmm. Chat might correct me on that. I feel like we have very level-headed opinions on Star Wars, but we're very passionate about them.
Yes. Our love for Star Wars is not adult.
No.
It is a childlike wonder.
Right. Okay, I'm going to take a quick break for the pissing, and then let's get into Smallville.
Go piss, girl.
Great.
Yep. Great.
Was that supposed to make it quieter? I think it made it louder.
I think it was. I think he knew what he was doing.
Okay.
Cam, have you ever seen the movie Tremors?
Is it scary?
A little.
I'm not a horror thriller person.
I mean, technically it would be a horror movie, but it's not really. It's like a horror comedy. Anyway, Brian hasn't seen Tremors, and it's a movie that he would love. And I was curious if other people have been missing out. But if you don't like thriller horror type things,
well, Brian and I were just talking about this before you got here. We were talking about he wants to make me into a horror fan, because and this is apparently similar to Emily's experience with horror, which is that my hatred of horror came from when I was a kid and not from any actual grown up watching horror. Right. And I just saw Nope, which is the first thriller horror movie I have, I think, ever seen. Besides, I did see a tiny clip of House of Wax, which I watched because Jared Padalecki was in it. As I said, I only watch things because celebrities I like are in them. I did, and that scared the shit out of me as a grown up. So I do, but yeah.
What did you think of Nope?
I thought I really liked it. Most of the people I know who didn't like it very much had expectations of Jordan Peele that weren't met. And I think that part of why I really liked it was because I hadn't seen anything else. And so I really enjoyed it. I found that it wasn't as scary or scary at all as I thought it would be. I didn't think it was scary. And that made me think I could do this.
Right. Well, I liked Nope a lot. And I wouldn't say it was scary, but there was some disturbing stuff. Right. And some horror movies aren't really scary. They're more disturbing. Some are really scary. Some are just suspenseful. So it's a very broad brush.
Yeah.
You might just need to find the kind of horror movies you like. Yeah. But then the problem with that is sometimes you go to the movies thinking, oh, I'm going to have a fun, scary time. And then you see an Ari Aster movie and you want to fucking kill yourself. Which just means they're working. Just means they're working.
Hereditary is the most God, I loved Hereditary. God, that movie fucked me up.
Oh, the only other horror movie I think I've ever seen as an adult had Stephen Strait from Sky High in it. Is called Lifelike, and it was very horny and existential horror. And that got in my head. and like I didn't like that.
That sounds like David Lynch or something.
Cam, we talked off mic a little bit about horror. We were talking about Nope, and I mentioned like getting into horror is a little bit realizing that the things you're afraid of aren't once you understand how a movie works, like they're not really there. Like no horror movie is as worse as it is in your imagination. Yeah. Except I was talking about last drive-in and I watched Dario Argento's Tenebrae. Which when you get into that schlocky Italian giallo stuff, that is in fact as bad as you were afraid of. Lots of close-ups of stabbings and like everything you're afraid of is in a fucking Dario Argento movie. And I liked it, but ooh, rough stuff.
Yeah, I do have like sensory issues. I think that like when there's like something that's like really gory or like there's like visceral noises or like visceral imagery.
Yeah.
That like it's not even like I don't feel scared. I feel like physically uncomfortable, and that I don't like. There was only one scene in Nope that like I just was really like sitting there like, please fucking stop. I don't want to. But I experienced that even in like The Boys, which is not scary, it's just gory.
Right.
Yeah.
And like that's like, yeah. So I don't love like viscera, which is something that I still feel that as an adult. So for that reason, I'm like, I don't know. I would need to talk to someone who has already seen a movie and like get the checklist of what is scary about it before I was just going to say
that would be a great, there probably is like an online service or a Twitter feed of just like types of scares in this movie. Viscera, like mindfuck.
I think there is something like that. Yeah. Does the dog die?
Probably the Common Sense Media with the like to see what is it like for kids, like what age is appropriate for this movie. And they tell you exactly the shit that goes down in it.
I would love at some point to do I should not. I have to stop having podcast ideas because I'm going to have a child in February. I feel like I'm going to have less time.
This is the first I'm hearing about it.
What? Oh my God.
Yeah, that's announced now. If I said that in the Discord, but that's out. I'm having a kid.
I already announced it on the show, Brian, a couple weeks ago.
What are you talking about? We played that off perfect. We played it off perfect. No one caught on. But yeah, my wife and I are. If you have not heard that yet or saw it in the Discord, my wife and I'm cutting this out of the podcast. But yeah, my wife and I are having a baby in February. We're very excited. But I feel like my podcasting time might go down. Hence where this show's transition to like, maybe we need to refocus on the audio stuff of, hey, we might need to bank a couple of these.
Yeah.
But before I said that, I would love to do a show with someone, aka Cam, who like isn't into horror movies, and like, can I curate a rising level, like a frog boiling in water of like get your experience and like relate your experience back to me of like, no, I hate, of like, did I think this was a perfectly chill introduction? And it's just like, no, I hated it.
I do think that level 1 needs to be like the Disney Channel original movie Twitches. Like you need to start low.
I'll throw this out there. It's like
needs to start off cold.
We're talking about Jordan Peele's Nope. Get Out is a horror movie in like a weird Twilight Zone episode way. It's weird, not in a horrifying, obviously, scenario, but like it's not a scary movie.
The implications are scary.
Right. And it's weird. And it's weird and unsettling. Yeah. But it's weird and unsettling in like, what's going on at this house kind of way.
Right.
I do feel like I watched Nope, and then I was like, I kind of really want to watch Us and Get Out, but Nope was such a like, I think I wouldn't have liked it if I wasn't in a theater experience.
Sure.
That I like feel like, am I gonna enjoy watching Get Out at home? Do I need to be in a theater? Have I missed the opportunity to enjoy it?
These are questions I would love to answer in a podcast.
Okay.
And I could be a regular guest on this podcast.
I would love that.
You
love
can
that.
return
Because
exactly.
I too am kind of a wimp. I've seen a lot of horror, but I'm also kind of a wimp about it. So like, I won't watch it at night alone. Just fucking forget it.
Interesting.
Because then I'll have nightmares. I'll go to sleep and I'll have fucking nightmares. I don't want to deal with that.
I do hate that part of it because your nightmare is always going to be way scarier than the movie actually was.
What is everyone's actual movie I am scaredest of?
Have you ever seen the
What do you
Disney
mean
Channel
that I've
original movie
seen?
Twitches?
Are you talking about the movie that I've seen that I'm scared of, or that I haven't seen that I'm too afraid to watch?
Either or both. I'll throw this out there. I watch a lot of horror. My wife and I will go through phases. Like, all of October is only horror movies, and then October sometimes starts a little early in this house. And we love them, because I also think it's also the most interesting genre of they're not working with a lot of money, so there's a lot of interesting creative stuff happening in that scene. But It Follows spooked me the most. I don't even think It Follows is a great 10 out of 10 movie, but it spooked me. It's the one that got under my skin, and I was looking over my shoulder for the third act's got some issues, but once again, I'm not talking about the movie. I'm talking, it spooked me. Hereditary disturbed me until we get to the third act, when I kind of realized we were having a little more fun than I thought.
Right.
The third act, I love Hereditary. I put Hereditary into my top 5 favorite movies, and it spends a lot of time being gross, just gross, and then it's kind of it's a mediation on these very dark themes, and it kind of pulls a spike of nope, it's exactly what we said it was, baby.
Yeah, I watched Hereditary for the first time during the lockdown, and I got halfway through when that terrible thing happens, and I was I might turn this fucking movie off. I was mad. I was mad at the filmmakers. I'm mad that you made me feel that.
Yeah.
And then I was I took a break and I came back to it, and I was no, that just means it's working. And I'm glad I finished it, because oddly I felt better after finishing the movie than if I would have just left it there. Because by the end I was oh, this is silly in a good way, but this is wild horror movie bullshit. I feel better now.
It takes this tone of it is prestige. It is very serious. And so some of the events of the movie are a little how fucking dare you?
Yes. Yeah.
And then it's no, this is a schlocky genre movie.
Yes. Yeah.
In a way we didn't play before.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really like it. I do want to throw out there, Brian, you've said this in reference to It Follows. I watched It Follows, and I was so disappointed. In that I wasn't creeped out at all. I enjoyed it. That's so funny, and that is, I think, a thing of horror. It's not, or getting scared of horror. It's not objective.
Yeah.
It is something about It Follows just hit my creeped out
I don't
bone.
know, Goosenberg, I don't know how much horror you watch, but there is a thing with horror junkies I've found that it's they've built up quite an immunity to, if you see, they're that wasn't scary because I've seen all of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's a lot harder to scare them.
Right.
Or disturb them.
Brian, to answer your question, the scariest movie I've ever seen was Percy Jackson and the Olympians.
Cam.
That movie scared the shit out of me. I was watching it. I don't know how old I was when it came out, but it was in theaters. I think I was 12. I don't know. I was too old to be really scared of Percy Jackson and the Olympians. But I was with my friends and her mom, and I had to get up and go to the bathroom and wait it out because I have a fear of like, I had a night. We've talked about this before, I think, but I had a nightmare as a kid that had to do with like humans being turned into mannequins. That like really, really scared me. And so anything that was like dehumanization of people just really, really scared me as a child. And so Medusa was like my big bad. Like I just like anything with Medusa in it, like scared the shit out of me because it was like, and so that not even a scary movie, not supposed to be a scary movie, not even supposed to be a scary movie for the age group I was in, which was like 12 to 14 or whatever. And
have you seen the Twilight Zone, the old Twilight Zone episode about mannequins?
No.
Great episode.
When you and Brian do your podcast, that's like the boss. That's going to be the final.
I have one last thought, and then we probably should get to Smallville. No one in the podcast version is going to hear the horror movie conversation, and that's the benefit.
I was going to say that's probably a good idea.
Benefit / not benefit of coming to the live streams.
Just make sure you keep the Last Jedi stuff.
The Last Jedi stuff is staying. That is staying. Okay. So my wife, I explained this to Cam before off mic, but my wife was a horror baby. Well, and then she got into it, and then our kind of fascination with it kind of grew together. But she tells a story about she's on a vacation, like a family vacation. All of her cousins are there. They put on Friday the 13th, the 2009 remake. She's a 12, 13-year-old. And she so doesn't want to watch a horror movie, she literally just goes and sits in the bathroom.
Yeah, me. Total Cam Godfrey move.
Sorry. I believe it was The Ring. It was Friday the 13th was a different story. It was The Ring.
The Ring is that get The Ring. That at that age, that's probably scary.
She just sat arms crossed in the bathroom. We have since watched The Ring together. My wife has become a loud, insane Gore Verbinski fan in a way that I don't get. And now loves The Ring.
Since we're gonna cut this out, I will do one more horror thing.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I was definitely in elementary school, probably 7. My dad would let me watch more adult movies if he knew he had seen them or whatever, and I had convinced him to rent Halloween somehow. I think maybe he just forgot
a movie that is scary.
Right. Like I had to work my magic, and I think it took time, but he was like, okay, we'll rent it and we'll watch it, and he's like, he just will throw it on before I'm going to go to bed. He's like, we'll watch a little bit before you go to bed. And as soon as the movie starts, I'm telling you, like 30 seconds in, I'm like, oh, this was a fucking mistake. I don't want to watch this movie. And I remember being like, Dad, why would you let me watch this? What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, I think we got like halfway through the tracking shot, and I was like, I'm good. I think it's bedtime. I think it's time to go to bed.
I have to. God, we'll get to Smallville at some point. I understand. I have to tell a Halloween story. Just last Halloween, Cam, I'm sorry. So just last Halloween, the new one was coming out. So Emily and I wanted to watch Arizona says in all caps, Cam is here for Smallville. But Halloween Kills was coming out. So Emily and I wanted to watch the original. We wanted to watch Halloween 2018, which we both like. And before Halloween Kills, which I liked. It's not good, but I had a good time at the movies with my friends seeing it. So we're at my parents' house, and that's when we decide, like, hey, let's do it. My mom likes horror movies. Let's do it. My mom, I don't know if she hadn't seen Halloween. I don't know if she hadn't thought about it in a long time. But my mom, who like is generally pretty cool, quote unquote, been on Brian and Eric a handful of times. Yes. I have a good time with my mom. Is absolutely scandalized that some of the babysitters are having their boyfriends come over. And just, what? No, that's not okay. That's not okay. To which I have to reveal to my mom, our babysitter, Kara, her boyfriend, Dan, came over every time. To which my mom was like, what?
Okay, Brian, since when are you a snitch?
I'm a snitch just 20 years later.
I love that everyone in chat who has never seen fucking Smallville is outraged that we're not talking about Smallville. And I love that. I'm not being sarcastic. I really appreciate that.
I also appreciate that. And also, I want to throw out there, almost every movie we've talked about, except The Monster Club, are like pillars of pop culture conversation.
Yeah, we're not talking about obscure shit.
The thing we talked the least about was the most obscure.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, let's get into Smallville, right?
This has been the Talon Mix Halloween episode.
For some reason.
Yeah.
I'm already in
Just
Halloween
cut this
mode.
part out and play that, put that on the feed in Halloween.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Actually, that's a good idea. I'm going to do that.
Okay, before we talk about Smallville,
it's in actuality, before we talk about Smallville, part of me is like, I think the appeal of the show is like kind of just like that we're chit-chatting. Smallville is the excuse to be chit-chatting. Right. Yeah. Chat currently is telling me that is not the case. They want the Smallville goss.
I wonder if it's because they love Smallville or they're like, I don't want to be here this long. I have to get up tomorrow. Like they have other shit to do and they're being loyal viewers.
Which
I don't think it's their
loyal,
love for
which
Smallville.
means feeling bad for us.
Yeah.
All right. So
Arizona has work tomorrow. Aren't there like child labor laws or something?
Okay, I'm gonna try to make a clean cut in as well as I can. All right, let's talk about Smallville. Delete is the episode we watched this week. It is the 11th episode of the 3rd season of Smallville, the 55th episode overall. This aired January 28th, 2004. Chloe is packing up her desk at the Daily Planet and saying goodbye to her editor, Max Taylor.
Creeper.
Creeper?
Kind of, a little creepy on her.
Little creepy. Has a full Smallville wiki profile. Does he ever appear again?
No, I mean he gets killed.
Does he get killed in this episode?
Alert. He gets killed in this episode, Brian.
I don't remember that. I watched it a couple days ago. But he remarks that she must have been enemies in high places to get blacklisted while still in high school. I don't know if that's I don't know if that's what I would take away from that. I also want to say that this Daily Planet set, the Daily Planet will become, beyond when I was watching Smallville, the Daily Planet would become a pretty prominent set on the show. Is that correct, Zach, who has seen the whole thing?
Yes. So, but not. It doesn't look like that.
That's the thing. It doesn't. This is not what the Daily. Maybe they move. Like no, but they don't move offices.
Well, they are in the basement for a lot of it, so maybe the basement looks different, but it's very different aesthetics. So Brian, you didn't get creeper vibes from this guy? I mean, he is very like teacher who's too friendly with students.
I think that's fair. I didn't get the vibes. I might have been too focused on the set.
And then the secretary's like, your wife called about dinner. And I'm like,
oh yeah, that's weird. Why did that happen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was wondering why that was even.
I wonder if something got cut out. I don't know.
I also wonder that now.
Isn't it weird that Chloe had a desk at the Daily Planet? I thought like she just was a high schooler writing a column once in a while.
So how often is Chloe commuting
Driving
to Metropolis?
3 hours to Metropolis, yeah.
For email exists at this for all
Yeah.
She's not even doing like research reporting. She has like a column in the Daily Planet.
She has a job and she gets fired from it. Like she's actually a writer for the Daily Planet, and she's running the Torch, which apparently puts out an issue every day.
Right.
Wait, so Metropolis is 3 hours away? That's canon?
That's our estimation.
No, they said that.
Okay.
They said that last episode.
Okay,
Brian.
okay.
Because I feel like
3
Metropolis, trips to Metropolis come up a lot.
Right.
And even more so, they'll just get more and more.
That's the fact that it's 3 hours away is insane to me. That like is truly feels like an error.
I think that will fluctuate with time. It's like a Game of Thrones. The travel distance gets shorter.
I want to throw something out there. The viewership has dropped a similar amount once we started talking about Smallville.
Yes. See?
So I understand that there is a vocal percentage in chat. I don't know if they are the most reflective. I'm going to cut that out. But
Gusenberg, they do see it on the horizon in an episode. They go up to on the top of it was like a fucking windmill or something. And they see the skyline quite far in the distance. And I was thinking about that as I drove to work today, because I can see a mountain that is like a 3-hour drive. Oh, I can see it.
Right. It's, like,
distance.
Right. If my hometown was like flat, you could see New York City. It's not flat,
right.
Was the thing, but
yeah. Kansas is flat though.
Kansas is flat though,
except for in Smallville where there's a gorge.
Except for in a forest,
also mountains,
and it just happens to look a lot like Vancouver.
Yes.
Okay. Chloe gives her editor, Max Taylor, a couple of stories that she's working on and asks him to look over them. It is impossible for him to publish anything she has written, so Chloe suggests a pseudonym. Her cousin's name, Lois Lane.
I took deep issue with this.
Okay.
I took so much issue with this.
Please elaborate.
That she just said, like, here's my cousin's name. She won't mind. She's not a journalist. Where it's like, she wouldn't mind because she wants to get into journalism. She would mind because you just took her name and published it.
Right, yeah.
So here's my question. I know
someone is getting nasty feedback on their microphone.
And I believe it's Cam.
Oh, because you have it down.
Yeah.
It was scraping against something or something. You're good. You're good
now.
sorry.
Okay.
It's all good.
If you want to take a headphone out, take out the other side, because that's not where the microphone console is.
Oh, yeah. Okay. See, I'm looking at the reverse of me, and so I thought, okay.
All good.
So this Lois Lane reveal, I can't tell you what a fucking shockwave this sent through the Smallville world at the time. Like, this was Luke, I am your father. Like, this is like, this was huge because the audience is like, when are we going to get Lois Lane? Are we ever going to get Lois Lane? Is she going to be a part of this? And then it's like, she's Chloe's fucking cousin. Guess what? We're just going to drop it in this teaser and move on from it.
Which I believe there was a popular fan theory that is not undersold by this moment, that Chloe Sullivan would end up being Lois Lane. She is certainly the Lois Lane archetype in Smallville.
And there is a big faction of the audience that wants Chloe and Clark to get together. And so they're like, maybe she's Lois, and they will end up together.
It makes so much sense of, like, she is a romantic interest in the show. And, like, so obviously there are going to be fans of that. She's the journalist character. It connects enough. Do you think they were leaving that open? I think in the writer's room, I think it's possible they were leaving that open.
Oh, so like maybe she just does take her cousin's name and use it.
I'm not saying they were like, yes, that's the plan, but like I think it's possible that they were like, yeah, and maybe she is.
Right. Yes, that I could see that for sure.
That makes sense as a move that they would want to do to like keep people talking about. Is she Lois Lane?
That's something Sorry, Cam, go ahead.
Oh, as someone who doesn't have any context, I was very surprised when you said that this was like the first time that was teased and dropped. I just assumed seeing that moment that like we knew that she was Lois Lane's cousin, and Lois Lane is either a character or being talked about, because that was like a weirdly like slipped in there moment that was like, can't be the first time we hear Lois Lane, right?
No, it's a niche line essentially.
Smallville is very slow and deliberate about introducing the Superman mythology stuff into the world.
Because don't get me wrong, it's embarrassed about it.
By today's standards, it's like crawling there. Like But I like that about the show, because there's always another place you can go.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing about all of that. I think if this was just a supernatural teen show, I think Zach, you and I would still like it, even if it wasn't Superman.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. But I would love to, at some point when they get to this episode, try to remember, call Talkville. They might actually have some insight that I'm actually interested in.
Yes,
of like,
we need to start writing down.
Yeah,
we need to start writing down our questions and then just calling them when they get to these episodes.
I genuinely want to know: is that something the writers' room was like open to? Was that something they were like, yeah, hey, maybe that is the case?
Have we burned our Talkville bridges? Now, if you call them like, this motherfucker's question's not getting on the air.
We can make a new fucking number. It's fine. We can make somebody else fucking call. It's fine. We can work that out.
This is Emily, big fan of the show.
Draz brings up a good point here. Today, every show is scared they'll be canceled after 2 seasons, and for good reason.
Yeah,
that's the strategy, the Netflix strategy.
Right.
Like
which
2 or 3 seasons.
Which Smallville certainly still had to like fight uphill. To like, Smallville was a big hit, an unprecedented hit, but
for the CW,
that is important. Okay. We didn't do the theme yet, right? We have not even hit the theme point, right?
We haven't got there yet. This is a long, weird teaser that goes all over the place.
Right. Okay. Lex is working late at Luthor Corp and goes looking for an on-call tech guy. He finds Molly Griggs. He explains his problem, and she gives him a disc which should scan for the viruses. He asks, after he leaves, Molly finishes removing the hard drive from Chloe's old computer. Chloe arrives at the Torch office, and Pete tells her that someone came by and confiscated all of the donated computers. She exits the school late at night and is run down by a familiar Dodge pickup. She has to dive under the pickup to avoid harm and is shocked when Clark climbs out of the truck. Clark looks equally surprised to see the wrecked truck and Chloe on the ground.
Cam, you go first. I have a lot to say. I think you look like you had something ready.
This moment just touched me. I don't know. This car crash where she ducks is, I think, the best moment in TV history. It was just beautiful to watch. I thought it was art.
You think this is Car Crash of the Year nominee for sure?
Yeah, I mean, just the way that she like dodges it, like just like goes into a push-up position and like avoids it is just so.
This counts as 2 car wrecks, right? Because it hits another car, Brian. That would be 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Is that's how you do it? I feel like a car wreck is usually
cars.
We're going by cars wrecked.
Cars wrecked. Okay. So 2 cars were wrecked in the making of this.
I think that's what we've been doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, okay, this might be the first car on car.
No, it can't be.
It can't be.
It cannot be.
I can't think of another time.
Where's your tally at right now?
25, 30, 35, 40. We've had 44 car crashes. Brian, we can't remember them all. I promise you there was 1 car on car.
I don't know. I believe you, but
we
I don't know.
We have to start from episode 1.
Yeah.
Roll the tapes.
Okay, so I want to go back to Lex with this tech guy lady. She really does get the like tech guy attitude down for sure. Like was that a Jimmy Fallon sketch on SNL? Move, where he was the tech IT guy.
Right.
She really has that attitude. But they really need to get better actors to match with Rosenbaum with like romantic.
Yes,
because they haven't got one yet that can hold their own against him.
No.
And
to be fair, is there?
Lex?
What was that?
Lex. So Lex.
Okay.
Every time they introduce a character like a romantic interest, as this tech person is kind of in that scene, like a flirty scene.
Yeah.
The acting is not up to par, like of the guest character with Rosenbaum, and it's like very like cringy for me anyway.
Right. It's. I mean, is there anyone till Crook?
That's what I was gonna say. Kristen Crook might be.
Who is good? Good on this television show.
So, okay, and then we go to the offices of the talent of the Torch, where Pete gets his one scene of the episode. What is going on with this actor, Brian? Something has to be going on.
I think we're already like we're transitioning out, right?
But like they are calling him in. He's in the opening credits, and he has been in one scene with like 3 lines for several episodes now.
I mean, I think there's an element of like, don't get me wrong. I think Pete leaving the show. I don't know this. I don't have this confirmed. This is me speculating, but like, I think Pete leaving the show is a creative reason, not a like actor reason. And I think obviously they've accepted like, we don't have anything to do with Pete, and so like we need to pay like. His contract is for X amount of things, so he needs to be in the show. But it's more, rather than
obviously if you're the guy playing Pete, you're going to show up to get your check,
right. But it's I think on everyone's level, it's like we're phasing you out of the show. But
must that have been to film?
I'm sure it's terrible.
Yeah, it's like he knows what's going on. Everyone on set knows what's going on.
Right.
It's terrible.
I'm sure it's awful.
So Lionel Luthor donated computers to the school newspaper, and he took them back. Can you take back donations? Like legally, once you've donated, I feel like that's not yours anymore. You can't just come take those computers back.
Can Lionel Luthor get away with it, though?
Right, that's true. I guess he probably didn't ask permission. He just went in to the computer.
Right. In any sort of normal circumstance, no. Do I believe Lionel Luthor can maybe make it happen? Maybe.
If Elon Musk donated computers to a high school and then took them back, do you realize the media firestorm that would be?
I mean, but here's the thing. Could Elon Musk be like privately, I want to take these back, or I'm going to post on Twitter that I wanted these back. And then you have to deal with a bunch of adult man children who worship me.
True. That's true. Mm-hmm. You're right.
Lionel Luthor doesn't have Twitter.
What if Lionel was alive in the age of Twitter? He would have had a following. Lionel would have been president if he existed 10 years later. Lionel Luthor would have been fucking. I would vote for Lionel Luthor over Donald Trump. I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you right now.
I mean, yeah.
He's
we
evil,
gotta get you a sign to put in your lawn.
He's evil, but at least he's really fucking smart. Lionel Luthor.
That's worse.
I don't think not to get too into current events on a recording, but I don't think Lionel Luthor would sell nuclear stuff, which is what we're all generally assuming is happening right now. That's what we're all assuming the boxes of documents were for.
Oh my God. I love these people who are flipping out because Hillary Clinton had a private email server and now going to defend this motherfucker who literally took documents about nukes and had them in his house just in a box.
And then hosted a giant golf tournament with a bunch of Saudi diplomats. Which I'm sure is irrelevant. I'm sure nothing will come out about that being any sort of front.
Before we hit the back nine, you would have come see what's in this box upstairs. Oh my God.
I'm just throwing that on the record as I don't know what history will have to say about these events, but here in the year of our Lord 2022, doesn't look great. Don't look great.
No, there's no answer to that question that is satisfying. There's no answer that's like, oh, that's okay. Right, there's some that are way worse than others, but there's none that's like, oh, cool, yeah, no, that's fine, dude. That's always for a scrapbook. Great.
The best. Cool. It's not good when the best case scenario is, oops.
Oh God.
Okay.
I think this is our best episode ever, Brian. I don't know what people in chat are fucking talking about.
I'm gonna agree. Yeah. Okay. I'm leaving this in the chat. Hates this stream. Hates it with a fiery passion. I'm having a great time. I'm talking to my buds.
Absolutely.
Really
maybe they're not ready for season 1, Brian. If this is not,
it's
because then they have to listen to us talk about current events from 2 fucking years ago.
The vitriol in chat right now is explosive. Though Gusenberg says, okay, if we talk about Tremors, I love Tremors. Once again, I said this earlier, but part of the appeal of the show for me is I get to hang out with my buddy Zach, and Smallville is just an excuse to hang out. No, not for chat.
No, we have created a monster of Smallville hungry chatters who have never seen Smallville, but they don't want us to talk about anything else.
They're Smallville wiki fans is what they are. They're not Smallville fans, but they're diehard fans of the Smallville wiki.
Oh my gosh.
At the hospital, Sheriff Adams declares Clark to be stone sober. Stone sober. And questions the two teens about the incident. Clark can't remember leaving the library. Chloe tells the sheriff it looked like Clark lost control of the truck. The sheriff dismisses Clark, and he runs into Lana, who introduces him to Adam Knight, who just finished another session of physical therapy. Any thoughts?
Cam, you go first. I have thoughts.
If you only accidentally almost kill someone with your car because you lost control of your vehicle, that's cool. That's kosher. We're cool with that.
Also, he did hit another vehicle.
Like,
who is the owner of that car?
The letting him off the hook because he lost control of his vehicle is like as if involuntary manslaughter doesn't, like, as if like
right.
You're not allowed to just lose control of your vehicle. You're still in trouble.
I don't think they question the person who was driving the car in the same room as the person they almost hit. I don't think they do that. Most
I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
As long as she's okay with it.
Yeah. Oh, you're cool. All right. Okay. Keep driving. Good luck, 16-year-old. Here's the key. Also, the sheriff does mention how many times she doesn't give a number, but how many times that they have destroyed this same fucking car. She's like, your family knows how to really does go through the vehicles.
That's someone in the writer's room. Like, we gotta make a joke.
We have to mention it at this point. They should pick a different color truck because that one's bad luck. Like, it's not. Next time through, Brian, we're keeping track of how many times that truck gets totaled.
I think that's a great idea.
What's the financial situation of Superman's family?
They're not good. They're broke.
Okay. So it's not just like cars are disposable.
No.
They must have the best insurance coverage. Like, they pay a lot for insurance.
Just after every car wreck, they're like, it's fine.
That's because Clark never gets in trouble for wrecking cars, so his insurance doesn't go up.
The sheriff said it was fine. Please don't raise the insurance. Also, while we're on the subject, later in this episode, Clark, it's a big plot point that he owns a laptop. Today, that might not seem like a big deal, but 2003, 2004, when this season was, a 16-year-old having his own laptop, not that common, especially not for people who are fucking broke with their farm, relying on the forced child labor of their son. Yeah. Did you have a laptop when you were 16, Brian?
No, 16, no.
No, me neither.
Yeah, I guess you're right. That was not a common commodity. I wanted one at 16. Like, I knew a human being. I knew human beings who'd had them.
Thick.
Right.
He's like, let me open my laptop.
Right. I was probably 8. By Vancouver, I had one. When we were in college together, I had one. And I was...
Okay, so not... But you were going away to another country on your own. That's like, you weren't like out in the fucking barn.
Right. So, like, I was 17 when I went to Vancouver. So actually, I wasn't that far off.
Yeah, that's true.
I turned 18 in Vancouver.
If they sent Clark off to another country to college, I'm sure they would give him a laptop. That makes sense. I don't think the Kents are a 2-computer family, is all I'm saying.
Right.
In 2003, 2004, because my family wasn't back then. Like, we had one computer, and you took turns, and it sucked.
No, we had the desktop.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm going to cut this out.
Try watching porn on that thing, Brian.
I'm going to decide if I'm going to cut this out. But I find this to be
a... go into to porn now?
I think this is a charming story.
Are you going to talk about porn, Brian?
I'm going to talk about my father's porn habits that I know.
Smallville. Hold on. Smallville Nights. This is a reprise, Cam. We've done this. I think we talked about porn for a substantial amount of time once, but it was in the text of Smallville. It was something in the text.
I also grow up. It's like, grow the fuck up. Everyone here is a human being. Grow the fuck up. So I really want to stress, I really find this to be a charming story. I'm not roasting a guy. So we had a family computer, and I could happen we were not as aware of search history. My father's porn searches on the family computer consisted of nude women, naked women, naked breasts.
Is that not what you're supposed to look up?
Yeah.
Wait, Brian.
How do you guys find
know this was your dad and not one of your brothers?
I know.
Okay, I need more. I need more of an answer to that.
There kind of just isn't. I know.
So my family's computer was in like the fucking living room, so I never looked up porn on my family computer. I had to use my imagination. Like I lived in the fucking 20s, Brian.
That was 99% of the time, don't get me wrong. But it's
naked breasts.
And I remember, oh my God, I was such a deluded like Catholic child. I remember like being mad at my dad. Like I was mad at. Now keep in mind, I was looking at porn too, but like I was.
You're supposed to be better.
I like in some level of like my parents are still married to this day. Happy as I think people can be. And I remember just being like, dude, that was. That's not what you're supposed to know. Because I went to Catholic school. I was a good Catholic boy. And then it wasn't until I'm maybe a freshman in high school, and I overhear downstairs. My mom had gone away for a little bit, some sort of trip, and I can overhear them downstairs saying, my dad is telling me, like, yeah, I hung out with, while you were away, my high school buddy and I, whose name is Alan, we went to a strip club. It was weird. And my mom just being like, gross. But like that, not a little like, just, I'm learning from like sensory, like hearing that conversation that human sexuality is like fine.
Right. Yeah. It's okay. Don't be afraid.
Right. And that was the time years later where I forget, like, oh, my parents have a healthy sexual relationship, which is simultaneously gross and also
comforting.
Right.
I can't relate. My mom has never had sex except for the one time where she made me.
My parents had sex 3 times and made my brothers.
Yeah, twice.
Me and my brothers.
Brian, just to back to Smallville for a second.
I might now leave everything in of just in fucking just so
Brian,
everyone can experience that, like,
this is a hangout podcast where we sometimes talk about Smallville.
Psych, it's always been a hangout podcast. There are some reactions here. I'm reading this cold. My neighbor's young, this is Goosenberg in the chat. My neighbor's young daughter came over to use my laptop and looked up porn on mute. And I was the absolute courage to do that. I cannot imagine.
How old is this daughter? I must know.
I was like, I did a lot of audacious porn reading.
Most of my human sexuality was learned through fan fiction reading.
Yeah, I was reading like real raunchy fan fiction, like in Honor's bio, like like that was a lot of my. Well, I always had a laptop from middle school, and that is one of the reasons why I am gross. Like I think that deeply ruined me.
Grandpappy Grodad, it says, I had the Bible.
See, I also did not get any Christian guilt or repression. Jews are allowed to be horny.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
I don't like at least in the very lax denomination I belong to, like it's just like not.
In general, like my experience has been, I like, I'm curious yours. Most of my Jewish friends, and I'm not familiar with like Jewish denominations and like what but like my friends and like my Jewish friends, Catholic friends, we all relate. Like we all have like the similar, like we all feel bad about the same things.
Interesting. I think I don't know. I've been thinking about it a lot because in Judaism there's not a lot of cosmic consequence. Like there's not a huge some people believe that hell exists in Judaism, but like generally it's accepted that like we don't participate in Judaism out of fear of cosmic consequences. We participate out of a commitment to a relationship with God.
Sure.
So it's more of like a
sure.
So like I've met like deeply like homophobic Jewish people. And when I think about like the fact that there's not this concept of hell, I'm like, are you just homophobic for fun? Like what? Because at least I think when Christian people do it, it's like they think that I'm going to hell and they're trying to save me. Where I've met Jewish people who do it, and I'm like, what? You just think it's gross?
So I have one last porn story. Is Brian gone? Brian needs to hear this porn story, so I'm gonna wait to tell it.
Okay. But I do also want to say, in the weird case this ends up on your podcast, is like there's no like singular Jewish experience and belief. So like whatever. But right. In my experience, like there's like I didn't have to be afraid to be horny because I'm not going to hell.
Right.
So I can be as horny as I want to be.
Right.
I was created in the image of God, so God must be really fucking horny. Like I
don't. For sure, yeah. Oh man, yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We can't get started on religion. Definitely can't, because we'll be talking for a long time. I think this should be a two-parter. This is a two-part episode of this show. Or do we need like an intermission?
I love two-parter. Part one is everything that's not about Smallville, and part two is like a 15-minute episode where we talk about Smallville.
Yeah, just release them separately. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
So Brian is... So should we try to guess what he's doing in the bathroom? Because if it takes much longer, it's going to be an easy guess.
He didn't say that he had to go to the bathroom. I was thinking that something crashed. But we are...
Maybe
because usually he does make much ado about the fact that he has to pee. So
yes, Arizona, you might be right. We all this talk of porn.
He just had to.
Cam, do you ever watch
Some of it, yeah.
Have you seen the one with the contest?
No.
It's a classic one. You should watch it, but I don't want to explain it because it won't be funny, but just watch the contest.
Okay.
Basically, they have a contest to see who can go the longest without masturbating. And there's a moment that reminds me of what just happened with Brian, if that is in fact what he's doing right now.
I'm gonna just, for my own sake, assume not, and never think about it again.
I appreciate that he logged off if that's what was happening. He at least logged off.
Yeah.
Arizona had a theory about what you were doing while you logged off there.
I had to take a poop.
Okay. Our theory was different, that we all this talk of porn got you really excited, and we appreciated that you logged off at least.
That would be a good thing if that was the thing.
Okay, last porn story and then Smallville. I'm in the computer lab in the library in high school, sitting next to some idiot. Keep in mind, this is early 2000s, and saying this kind of thing was obviously still shitty back then, but it was more common. Anyway, this guy looks at me and goes, "Look at the website I'm visiting." And he typed in, "Zach is gay," making fun of me. And then he hit enter, and there's a website, Zach is gay. And it had some pretty shocking images that popped up in the middle of the library in high school.
Don't mind me. I'm just Googling something.
Serves him right. Are you checking to see if it's still up?
I did have a friend who got in trouble at school because she was looking things up. She was just word.com. And she Googled butt.com and found whatever she found at butt.com.
Found what she was looking for, yeah.
And then she was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe what's on butt.com. I should warn people about this." And she sent an email to everyone in the grade that said, "Don't go to butt.com," and butt.com, of course, became a hyperlink.
I know, it's like, oh.
And so she sent out an email that said, "Don't go to this hyperlink that everyone's going to go to." And I don't know what's on butt.com, but I assume it's butts. And she did get in trouble for that email.
Don't go to this website.
To be
Brian,
fair,
we should tell people don't listen to Talent Mix. It'll be the easiest way to get people to listen to Talent Mix.
I think that's a great. I think that's a great marketing strategy. All right. The next day, Lex tries to return Molly's disc and learns that no one named Molly works in the tech department, and all hard drives from the computer she was working on were wiped out. Any comments?
No.
Great.
We don't have much to say about Smallville, Brian.
I agree. At the Talon, Lana makes Adam a complicated cup of coffee, and Adam remarks how uncomfortable she seemed around Clark last night. Lana explains that that they have a lot of history. She knows that Clark still cares for her, and she can't control that. But he doesn't know what he wants.
So, in this scene, Adam meets Clark for the first time.
Yes.
And he guilts him about not visiting Lana in the hospital. Why is everybody in this show guilting Clark for respecting Lana's wishes? Lana said, "Don't visit me anymore. We can't be friends because I always get hurt." And then everyone in the world is like, "Clark, why didn't you visit Lana in the hospital? It's fucked up."
Literally the thing Lana said, "Nah, don't."
Also, I do have something to say about the scene with Lex and the tech guy. That tech guy, I'm pretty confident, comes back, not as the tech guy, but that actor plays Toy Man in seasons 8 and 9. Toyman being a DC villain.
Yeah, not one of the better ones. All right. This is a long paragraph. Clark is examining the pickup when Chloe arrives at the Kent farm. She informs him that there was no tampering done to the truck. She asks the mechanic. She starts to cry and says that she can only apologize for investigating Clark so many times. Clark realizes that Chloe thinks he tried to run her over on purpose. He admits that he still isn't over her betrayal. And Chloe reminds him of his own recent bad judgments. I'm going to throw out there, running someone over is worse than what Chloe did.
Yes. If Chloe actually thinks Clark tried to run her over on purpose, why did she cover for him with the cops?
Right. But then they switch gears. And she asks him if he remembers anything about the library. And he says the last thing he remembers is working on his laptop. Chloe examines the computer and learns that he downloaded an email from someone named Brainwave just before the accident. It is revealed that, quote-unquote, Brainwave is Molly Griggs' screen name as she prepares to send an email message to Lana Lang. Lana finishes showing Adam around the school when she receives an email message on a handheld device that Lex gave her. The message consists of flashing lights rather than words. Lana's eyes glow.
So, I appreciate Chloe. We've talked about this before, but characters in TV shows reading things at like warp speed, apparently. Because she goes to Clark's laptop where he's has a half-written essay on General Sherman, and she looks at it and she goes, "Interesting take on General Sherman." Like she read the essay in 3 seconds. Also, not only did she read the essay, but she knows enough about Civil War General Sherman to know that his take is an interesting one. And I'm not lying to you when I'm saying this. I went back and tried to see what Clark's take on General Sherman was, but I could not make it out because it was cut off. I don't know what his take was, though, Brian, because General Sherman was kind of a prick. So is Clark's take that he wasn't a prick?
I know nothing about General Sherman.
He was a general for the North, which is good. But he went on a rampage through the South, like setting people's homes on fire and like killing people and doing all sorts of terrible shit.
Maybe less good.
Yeah.
Or was his take regular and she had the opposite?
She is a racist, secretly.
I do have a question pertaining to the past. This. What year are we in? 2003?
2004.
2004. Is email like really cool? Like, is it cool that like
emails around personal devices where one can get their email is maybe less so?
Lana does get it on her phone though.
Lana gets it on a device Lex gave her.
Oh, yeah.
Which is literally specified in the wiki.
But is it like, would you have been watching this and be like, oh my God, she sent an email and it brainwashed them. That's so cool because emails exciting.
No, that's more like late 90s, like The Net.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a movie with Sandra Bullock. It's all about the internet is scary.
Yeah.
I think by 2003, 2004, I was doing homework assignments where we were sending them via email.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
what the vibe of this episode is. Where it's
I didn't see this and go cool.
Okay.
But my junior year of high school, assignments were sent in via email, which was great for me because I didn't like to do set assignments, so I could like throw a file in the email and just be like, I don't know why it didn't work.
Yeah.
Sounds like your problem.
Don't do that anymore.
What's that?
Because the teachers grew up with that.
Yeah, right. No,
so they can catch us.
And it, like, I think don't get me wrong, they always knew at the time. But they didn't have enough to bust me on it, which was all I was worried about. Don't go to school.
Don't go to school.
Don't
now
go to
they
school.
Can,
In
they
fact,
can just be like, let me check the history of that document on your Google Drive. Check the edit history. Oh, it got deleted. Let's just go back and edit history.
Right. That's kids' problems now. I've talked to my wife a lot about school stuff going forward, and like we've generally understood that my wife will have to handle all school stuff because my answer will be don't. I don't want to do this. And I'll be like, don't. If they're like, literally, if I'm at a parent-teacher conference and the teacher is like, they don't do their assignments, I'm like, fucking rad. Cool. They shouldn't. I mean that very seriously, is the thing. And after receiving the message, Lana immediately seeks out Chloe and bashes her. Lana immediately seeks. So Lana read an email. Her eyes are glowing. After receiving the message, Lana immediately seeks out Chloe and bashes her head against the wall and throws her down the stairs. Lana follows her down the stairs and coolly states that she is trying to kill her. Lana kicks her in the chest and hits her across the face before Chloe starts to fight back, and they fight violently and intensely down the stairs. Chloe rams Lana into the fire hose case, and the latter grabs and hacks, the latter being Lana. Wiki,
this is like a blow-by-blow.
Wiki, we're getting a little, like...
Just put, there was a fight scene.
That's what they were doing before. They got real virtuoso here on the wiki. She chases Chloe down the hall, through the locker room, and into the shower. We get full like CW teen in a bra shot.
They are in the girls' locker room in the shower. So this is the closest the chat is going to get to what they want.
Right.
Chloe Lana.
She chases Chloe down the hall, through the locker room, and into the shower. She knocks Chloe down and is about to bring the axe to her head when Adam intervenes, and with some impressive martial arts of his own.
What is he doing in the women's locker room? The scene opens with this motherfucker. I don't know how old is this guy supposed to be, Brian? This Adam guy.
I think he's supposed to be high school age.
But he's not going to high school. So
I don't know.
He shows up at the school. He's hanging out with Lana, and she's like, he's like, I'll wait outside or some shit. And then he goes out. Then they have this massive fight scene, which is pretty great, actually. And it ends up in the girls' locker room. And he shows up at the last second and stops the... How did he get to the girls' locker room? He was outside. Did he hear like, oh, it sounds like a fight? In the girls' locker room, it sounds like Lana fighting in the girls' locker room. I better go investigate.
He's really a hero, is what he is.
To be fair, if I heard a fight happening in the girls' locker room in high school, I might have gone to investigate to help. Also, in high school. Any excuse.
That's so brave of you.
Lana finally stops trying to kill Chloe when Chloe trips her and she hits her head on the floor and asks, what happened? Now,
memory loss. Clark lost his memory, and Lana has so far. That's two.
Cam, any thoughts?
if someone tried to beat me up and then all of a sudden was like, what happened? I don't know if I would buy that.
Okay, so imagine you're in high school. I would say I'm gonna throw out there for everyone kind of watching right now / on this stream / in the chat in any, you know what, listening to the podcast version of this. High school was a little tumultuous, right? We were all into some weird stuff. We were all Now you're attacked by someone with an axe. What do you hope happens to them? I'm going to throw bare minimum out there. Would anyone disagree, chat on the stream, recording this podcast? Would it be unreasonable to hope that they don't go to the high school anymore?
Also, Brian, not only that, in the next scene, Chloe says, you got us suspended. So they didn't expel Lana. They also suspended Chloe. So they were like, those girls got into a fight.
That checks out.
They're both in trouble.
Sorry. Wait, that checks out as something that would happen in high school to me 100%.
Not if one of them had an axe, though, right?
If one of them had an axe,
it's never happened to me.
Look, she shouldn't have come at you.
You've never been attacked by an axe?
You shouldn't have fought back.
They do. I can fully imagine someone just standing there with an axe, and someone else standing there just having been attacked by an axe, and a teacher being like, I don't care who started it.
Yes, she was wrong to come at you with the axe, but you were also wrong to fight back.
I'm writing this down as a sketch pitch because I think that's very funny.
Two wrongs don't make a right.
Did any of you guys get in trouble in high school for like fighting or anything like that?
Not in high school.
I got in trouble a lot in school for yelling at teachers and storming out of classrooms.
Oh, was that your move?
I never had I never had trouble with other students. I was a very, very bad child.
I in the wake of when was Columbine? 99?
99.
I know this is going somewhere. I was an awkward, like, I didn't know quite how to navigate a lot of things. Like, a lot of, like, this is not me in high school. Even in Vancouver, Zach, when we went to college together, like, was very, like, I didn't know how to navigate social situations. But I was pegged by the principal as like potentially dangerous students. Of like I had been and like the peg was on a math test. I had made 2 independent drawings. I know that they were independent drawings. One was a stick figure with a bunch of guns, like kind of Quentin Tarantino style. Boo, 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 boo. Shooting stuff. The other was a depiction of stick figure me frustrated with the test behind a desk going help.
Oh, yeah.
Which one was first, Brian? Which one was first on the test?
Earlier on the test, and to be fair to me, there were 2 stick figure guys pew-pewing each other.
Yeah. There were also 2 Columbine shooters.
I was going to say the audience is reacting to you saying I was pegged by the principal. And I did also clock that, but it was preceded by in the wake of Columbine. So I decided not to say anything about it. But the audience didn't have
Columbine made my principal horny in a really inappropriate way.
Also, it's let me throw out there of like I was raised compared to several people in the chat pre-internet, and it broke you all. It broke you all to such a deep degree.
We're all just absolutely irrevocably broken, unfixably.
But so
I'm so glad my family's computer was in the living room.
So I want to throw out there, I'm in the principal's office. It's my senior year in high school, and I don't know where the principal's office is. I have to go to the main office. I mean, like, I'm supposed to see the principal, and I don't know where they are. So he explains everything to me, and I'm like, I understand what happened here. I understand why I'm in this room. And it was so funny so I'm across from this principal who was explaining to me like, hey, I get it. I understand what happened. I'm not worried about you. After talking to me for 10 minutes, he was not worried about me. But I'm just going to tell you flat out, I've already called your father. And I'm like, I get it. And it was like, he's on the line. And so poor Kurt Miller, I just hear, he literally hits a button and I just hear, Brian? I'm like, yeah. It's like, you know I can't do that, right? And I'm like, yep. I'll see you at home. All right.
If your dad gave you shit, you could have been like, I also got in trouble for Googling naked breasts.
Oh, man.
So during that fight scene, Brian, I was back to Smallville. Sorry. I was at first I was like, why is no one breaking this fight up? Because there were like 40 people watching, and then she grabbed the axe, and I was like, oh, okay, that's why I wouldn't fucking break that up. Two people were fighting. If two children were fighting together with an axe, I'm standing and watching like, fuck, I don't know how they're gonna get out of that one.
I got one more off-topic conversation. Have you guys seen?
No, we're done, Brian.
Have you guys seen a fight in high school?
Yes, plenty. Yeah.
No.
I did not for the longest time. No fights in high school. Didn't see a single fight in high school. Senior year finals. I'm finally going to see a fight in high school. There's a whole crowd of people. It's a fight. I'm pushing my way to the front. I'm going to see this fucking fight. Guys, it was a rap battle.
That's way better. That's great. Brian, let me tell you, the fights I saw in high school, there was no crowding around. It was like, get out of the fucking way. That's scary shit. It's a real fight. Like people are getting hurt.
There was
like, a real fight is not a fun thing to watch.
Right.
My experience. Yeah. It's like
But there were always kids who saw one and like, oh man, it happened in this hallway. And I was never in that hallway. Okay, later at the Talon, Clark, Lana, Chloe, and Adam try to piece together why and how someone would want to kill Chloe. They realize that they both got suspicious emails just before the attacks. Clark guesses they were hypnotized. Adam...
They all jump on board with this theory right away, to the point where they're finishing each other's sentences like, yeah, like a subliminal message.
Yeah, I get that Clark picks up on like supernatural shit like that, but it's very weird to like. Do they? I guess how familiar are they with the fact that supernatural shit exists in their universe?
Unclear.
But it's not supernatural, Cam. It's technology.
But it is hypnosis. Well, I guess which isn't true. Supernatural. Is it?
So
I mean,
Chloe is definitely hip that there's some sketchy stuff going on in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But this Ian guy, or whatever the fuck is Adam. Sorry, Adam. I guess he is too, because he jumps right in. Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Great theory. Let me use my hacking skills. Sorry, you're going to get to that right now, Brian.
Adam helps them track down the IP address of the sender, and they realize the messages came from the computers taken from the Torch office. Clark wonders how Adam knows so much about martial arts, computers, and the human brain.
Brian, I think this is the episode where people really started to think that this guy was Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Because he has martial arts,
right,
and mysterious background, and they're like,
right.
Yeah, they're doing Batman.
And you know what? Maybe they should have. Sorry, do you have a thought?
No, I think you're going to get to it right now.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to start reading the next paragraph.
Yeah, I think that's
okay. Great. So he goes to Metropolis. Clark goes to Metropolis to ask Lex if Lionel is behind it. Lex realizes that the mysterious Molly probably was responsible. Lawrence Garner visits Molly in her loft apartment. He tells her that Max Taylor is questioning him about Chloe's scathing article on his dubious research. Clark and Lex in Vancouver always like awakens an element of us in college, and like I'm trying to recognize buildings. Nothing here struck me that much.
Right.
I believe one of our teachers lived in an apartment building that was featured in there.
It's tough because all those apartment buildings look pretty similar.
They look pretty similar, but like one of our teachers lived in a semi-distinctive apartment. I truly believe that it is in there. It's visible from the penthouse apartment.
Did you go to your teacher's apartment?
That's the thing about my very good college experience at Vancouver Film School is like, maybe should have hung out less with drunk teachers.
Which teacher, Brian, did you hang out with?
I'll tell you later. But like 99% sure. To be clear, never went. Like he was dropped off at that apartment, but like was hanging out with students and was dropped off at his apartment.
You didn't go into the apartment.
No. But I've
seen not pegged as you were by your principal.
But no, I've seen the apartment from the outside.
I do just want to say that every time you say goes to Metropolis, my brain is going, okay, drove 3 hours.
Except Clark doesn't have to. Clark can run.
Oh, true.
But then they're going to be like, where's your car? Where's your car?
Yeah, how did you get... Though I guess like Clark could be like, no, I took the train in. Lex doesn't have to know that Clark ran in.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, Lana finds Adam preparing to leave the hospital. He mentions that he would rather stay in Smallville instead of return to Metropolis. He wants to get to know her better, but she questions his motives. He doesn't want to clean up the mess of her previous relationship, and he asks her to leave. Which... Wiki's kind of... Okay, but she questions his motives. Wiki's balancing over. Lana is immediately like, how do you know the things you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, because of Clark keeping secrets from her, she's like, I don't like secrecy.
Right.
And I see some red flags here.
Right.
The funny thing about the scene is she comes in and he's literally packing his bag. He's almost done packing.
Right.
And then they get into a fight and he asks her to leave. It's like, weren't you just leaving?
Yeah.
Like he's gonna stay in that room just to prove a point. Like, fuck, I shouldn't have left. I should have just left. Now I have to sit in this room until she gets out of here.
She also has very normal reasons to be suspicious of him. And he gets very manipulative.
Definitely. Definitely.
Very gaslighty.
Definitely.
What do you... Also, is this the point where he like walks in and his opening line is like from the library? That's where I got the books, or is that later?
That's later when he apologizes.
Okay. Because you had a long time to think of that excuse, and she just...
So basically, right. all of the abilities he has of like, oh, I've been here in the hospital and I read a lot. And then when Lana comes in, she's like, where are all the books?
Yeah.
And he does the classic gaslighting thing where he's like, I shouldn't have to answer that. Like, he's just like, basically like, oh, you don't trust me? Like, without answering the question until he takes 6 hours to think of the library.
Support your local libraries.
Yeah, that is the message of this episode.
It's great. I haven't bought an audiobook in years. I just wait at the library. It's great. The Libby app, highly recommend. Later, they have a real discussion about where their friendship is headed, and she persuades him to stay.
This is the scene, Cam. We're jumping all over the place. This is the scene where he comes in and says, the library. This is the scene you were talking about.
Okay.
She offers to renovate the apartment above the Talon and rent it to him. Chloe finds...
Wait, she offers to renovate. She's going to pay for a renovation? Or is that coming out of Lex's pocket?
That's definitely coming out of Lex's, right?
By the way, Lex, I told this fucking guy that
which, you know,
renovate the apartment above the Talon?
If he's going to rent... What are we talking, like Lex money, right? Like, it's like, yeah, you should do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, also, if I remember correctly, at the beginning of the season when the Kents were about to lose the farm because Clark wasn't there doing all the work anymore, their plan was to move into the apartment above the Talon.
Right.
Was it not renovated? Yeah. You were just going to let the Kents move into some shithole?
I guess so. Is that better? Is that worse than being homeless, Zach?
What is Lana's relationship to Lex?
They are business partners currently on this coffee shop that used to be a movie theater.
Yes, Lex owns.
Okay.
Yes, he is a billionaire.
Any other questions?
He is in business with a 16-year-old who he also, I think, is in love with kind of under...
He will objectively marry later in the show.
Yes. Mm-hmm. It's not gross.
Is it, do we think they know that right now? Like, is it building to that?
Unclear
or is that just
to
something
me.
That happens?
I think the writers know that they are building to some kind of Lex-Lana romantic something in the future. So they want to do a love triangle with Clark. I think they know that much. I don't know if they know the extent of it. I don't know if they know that they're actually going to get together, but they're definitely planting seeds for romantic tension between Lex and Lana.
I also think, this is pure conjecture on my part, based on Michael Rosenbaum's Inside of You and Talkville podcasts. I also think Rosenbaum and Crook are friends by this point and think that this is a fun dynamic.
Okay.
Right?
Well, I'm trying to think. I don't know, because I thought on the Inside of You podcast they said that they became friends later, but I don't know. Maybe
I might be wrong, but
maybe I'm wrong.
Either way, at this point, I think maybe they're just both like, I don't know, bouncing off of each other is fun.
Well, I think anytime you can add romantic tension to a scene in one of these kinds of shows, you're going to do it.
on a, at this point, WB show, yeah, of course.
Are there two real Smallville podcasts? Not that this isn't a real one, but like real like that there are Smallville cast members on. There are two.
There is Michael Rosenbaum has his own podcast that is
not Smallville. But
it's like a Howard Stern. It's like he just does interviews.
Right.
Okay.
It's actually pretty good.
It's a good show. I like it. I listen to it pretty regularly. And then he also hosts Talkville, which is his Smallville podcast with Tom Welling.
And then there's a bunch of other Smallville podcasts, none of which, except for one, has gotten past season 1 of the show.
I would love to collab. I would love to do theirs. They do ours.
Wait, I'm talking about random dudes who tried to start a podcast and bailed out on it.
Us.
Yeah, that sounds exactly like something Brian would want to do. Brian's going to start a phone number that they can call if he just had anyone.
You legit can call this number right now and get in.
Can you?
Actually, not.
Please, only Smallville questions.
Don't you dare derail this train that is totally on rails.
We are finally gaining some Smallville momentum. Don't fuck with it.
Okay. I'm going to read this paragraph. I'm going to go piss. And then, all right. But this paragraph.
Brian, do you want me to read the paragraph?
No, I'm going to read the paragraph, and then you and Cam need to vent or vamp based on this paragraph. I've decided. I've decided this podcast is going up completely unedited. We do have to do a quick at the end of this. We're putting this up unedited. But.
I think an intermission. I think it's a 2-parter, Brian. I was telling Cam.
That's not a bad idea.
To be continued. It's to be continued.
That's not a bad idea. But, okay. Chloe finds Clark at the Torch office. He tells her what he learned from Lex. She recognizes Molly Griggs' photo and says that Molly is a super smart engineering prodigy who was being treated at the Summerholt Institute after a psychotic break. Chloe interviewed her for a story. She was writing about Lawrence Gardner, so they call Max Taylor to warn him. Unfortunately, Molly has already gotten to his secretary, who kills Max during their phone conversation.
Death by pencil.
Time to pee.
She stabs that motherfucker in the ear with a pencil.
And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful moment. Do you have a tally that you need to keep for ear stabbings?
Pencil deaths. What kind of pencil do you think they're working with there? Ticonderoga?
Oh, for sure. I mean, why settle for less? If you're going to stab someone.
I had a teacher in high school who called the Ticonderoga the Cadillac of pencils.
It is. It truly, really is. I mean, I can't think of a better thing to call it. That's what it is.
I mean, you ever try to use a non-Ticonderoga pencil? It's a real piece of shit.
It's not worth it. It's like, just get a pen at that point.
Arizona, he gets stabbed in the ear canal, through to his brain. It's not just in the ear lobe or something.
Yeah, there's a lot of ear stuff in this episode. Am I wrong?
No, there's some ear play.
We took a journey through an ear at some point, I think.
If you have an ear fetish, this is a real good episode for you.
Tell your ear fetish friends.
Clark just got his ear super hearing last episode, so that's why you see the ear canal.
I truly loved it. It didn't feel like it went on for too long at all.
Like this podcast. Brian is a little tipsy, no? He's a little tipsy, slurring the great. Yeah. Cool.
You know when Ryan's a little tipsy because he loves Hey Brian.
Hello. Go on.
I just think that maybe your decision to put this episode up unedited was a little bit of a tipsy decision versus
it's also a lazy decision. It's more than way more than that, a lazy decision.
Yeah, because I do love the tipsy Brian moments where you just have an idea. And it's always
this is going up unedited. I agree with you, Brian. I think
no, I actually I'm incredibly lazy. B, I do actually maintain that this is a hangout pod that happens to be Smallville, and I think chat is wrong. I think I appreciate chat being here every week. I think they're wrong. I think everything we've been talking about has been good.
Okay, guy got stabbed in the ear. Nothing really to talk about, Brian. Dude got stabbed in the ear.
Great. Next paragraph is long. I think I'm going to try to get through it, but obviously if there's an emergency situation, say something. Clark takes Chloe to the Luthor mansion for protection, and she tells Lex that she knows about Lawrence Gardner. Clark leaves to talk with Gardner, and Lex leaves to talk with the techs he put in charge of tracking Molly. When Clark arrives at the Institute, he confronts Gardner with everything he knows, and Gardner has security escort him out. Clark uses his super hearing to hear Gardner make a call to Molly and overhears Gardner give the name of the apartment building and the number to the operator. When Clark arrives, he finds Lex is already there. Molly explains...
Clark just walks right into this fucking apartment, by the way. Like, there's a scene before all that stuff where Chloe walks into the torch and then like doesn't realize Clark is there and then sees him and is like, Clark, don't sneak up on me like that. Clark is totally stationary, just standing there reading. And she's like, don't sneak up on me. Bitch, you walked into the room. What am I supposed to do? Okay. So Clark walks into the apartment. Sorry, go, Brian, go.
Okay. Molly explains that she is defending Dr. Gardner out of loyalty. He doesn't have the power to control her. She developed the program herself. Lex discovers that Molly sent another email, and Clark is horrified to realize that it was to his mother. Just then, Chloe arrives at the Kent farm in response to Martha's phone call. Martha comes at her with a sickle while Jonathan chains her to a post by her neck.
Okay, hold on. We got a couple things to talk about here.
Yep.
First of all, how dumb is Chloe? Because there's someone sending emails out and hypnotizing people to kill you, and then your friend's mom calls you and is like, "Hey, come to the house because Clark wants me to tell you something." Or and she's like, "Okay, I guess I'll come over." I
can't think of a single reason why anybody's mom would call me and I'd be like, "Yeah, I'll do whatever."
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, so and so.
Only my own mom has that power.
Okay, my second thing is the email went to Mama K, to Martha. And Jonathan K is also hypnotized. This means Johnny K is the type of guy who reads his wife's emails, right?
Johnny K with no dialogue in this episode.
Or is he like just hovering over her on the computer like, who are you talking to?
I do.
Who's that email from?
I do want to throw out there, Zed Chowder, hi, welcome. Where is this story from? Superman fan fiction? To which Arizona, this way, Smallville, the actual television show that exists. We have not, in fact, made this up.
So.
Okay, but if we did an episode where we wrote a Smallville wiki, like a fan fiction Smallville wiki entry, how many people do you think would notice that it was not a real Smallville episode?
The move is that we sneak one in.
Well,
yeah,
if you're on the Smallville wiki, you know it's made up.
It would be interesting to try to sneak one in, do a full episode, and see who notices.
What we should do, Brian, every time we have a guest on the show who hasn't seen the show before, after they watch one episode, we should give them 3 real episode synopses and 1 fake one and see if they can pick out which
brilliant.
One is.
That's brilliant.
Is real, which one's fake.
That's brilliant.
And a lot less work than my idea, which is we write a spec script.
Wait, your idea is better.
Thank God I was only learning about the show in film school, because definitely we had a spec script assignment and it definitely would have been Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne hanging out.
I mean, why is that a thank God? That would have been, we didn't get that because you didn't, like, that would have been fantastic.
Okay. Chloe knocks Martha unconscious with a kick to the head. Clark arrives and pulls Jonathan off Chloe, but when he tries to help Chloe up, Jonathan comes at Clark with a meteor rock. He punches him several times before Chloe knocks out Jonathan by releasing several bales of hay stored on the upper level of the barn. They snap out of their trances.
Mama K and Johnny K both get concussions.
I think so. I think that is entirely fair.
Boom.
And is there more memory loss there?
Yes. Oh, good call. The chick who killed the guy with the pencil.
Yes.
Mama K and Johnny K. That's 3. Oh, baby.
It's a real bingo for memory loss going on right here.
Draz says, all caps, "What's this? Jonathan with the meteor rock?" Jonathan has no dialogue in this episode. He's just here to do murder.
Meteor rock, though. Johnny K busts out that meteor rock whenever he has to put his son in line. He has no problem.
I want to throw out there. This is we're going back off topic, baby. Gusenberg.
What is topic?
Gusenberg says, "Yeah, I got a good chunk through season 2, but 22 episodes is an unreal amount of season." Cam, I don't know if you know this. 22 episodes used to be the amount of season.
Yeah. I know that because I watched all of Supernatural.
There was something to I'm missing it a little bit in shows that I really like. I really like Star Trek Strange New Worlds, which was a hot 10 episodes, and it was great that all 10 episodes were really good. But there was something to there. I think there is something to, I don't know, that's what I do on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Whether the show is good or not, I'm going to watch characters I like have an adventure.
Yeah, I do like, and it's part of the reason why I think I watched so much of Supernatural even after it got really, really bad. It started really bad, but even after I stopped really liking the show for what was going on, was because I really had become attached to the characters.
There's just something to
really, really meaningful way.
Yeah. There's just something to when it's part of your habit.
Yeah. And like, I like these people and will watch whatever happens to them.
Even a meth thing is better than no thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I miss weekly television. It was my wife got screeners of What We Do, our current favorite show, What We Do in the Shadows. She got like the rest of the season. And it was like, oh, so we could watch all of them, but it's like, I don't know. I kind of like that it's What We Do on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
I kind of like that, like, oh, a new episode of our show is out.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think binge watching is kind of, even Smallville, Zach, I don't know if you've experienced this. I kind of like that just Smallville's part of my week again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like just, I watch an episode of Smallville a week.
I like watching a TV show once a week. It's like traveling back in time.
Yeah. It's not
to watch them.
It's not a binge, and like granted, like my watching of Smallville in college was binge watching the DVDs of. I watched Zach's DVDs. It was he gave me a season, and then I trade the season. But there is something extremely nice to even doing this show, that it's on Sunday. Or whenever I watch the episode we're going to talk about this week. And it's just part of my week. And it kind of sets a week cycle that I don't know that I have in a lot of ways otherwise. Basically, modern TV is bad. Zach has brought his entire stack of DVDs. Zach, are you still currently watching them on the DVDs?
Yes, mostly. Sometimes I watch them on Hulu, but usually I watch them on the DVDs.
That's
the way they were meant to be.
The way they were meant to be seen.
This is season 1's cover. ladies, gentlemen.
It's the season 1. Zach, could you explain the season 1 cover real fast?
It's just Tom Welling shirtless with the S. It's when he's being crucified. The pilot episode.
Zed Chowder, once again, welcome to the stream. I hope you come back another time. Says, did the writer's strike change that down to 8 to 10 episodes? No. No, they just did 22 streaming. Bad ones. The way God intended.
Here's the scene with the marriage. Look at this cover.
I believe this is the last DVD. So I came home from college. That's the set I bought.
Right. This was the season airing when we were at school.
Right. So I bought that when I got home.
Are there?
10. It went 10 years. This was a very successful show. But
okay, show and tell's over.
How much did those cost?
Actually, a season DVD at the time was not inexpensive.
Season DVDs, I'm still surprised by how much they cost when I see them like at Barnes & Noble or whatever. Like, I can't imagine there's a high demand for those.
I'll say this, when I was into anime in high school, which was a thing, an episode, like a DVD with 4 episodes, was at least $25.
Yeah.
No, the Smallville DVDs were like $60 when they first hit the shelf.
Right.
Yeah. And you were like, this is what I need to spend my money on?
Well, you're getting 24 hours of content. Or 22 hours of content.
Yeah.
At the time, that felt like a great deal.
Well, you couldn't watch them online. You could not watch them
there was no other way. That was how you could watch them.
2 chances to watch them on TV, and then you never could see them again.
Right.
And then they started coming out with DVDs, and you're like, fuck, I can watch this anytime I want.
It was amazing.
Just $60.
I think the only DVD box set I've ever owned was like seasons 1 through 4 of SpongeBob. I remember I went through those DVDs very often.
Great amount of content.
But also, that is always on TV, so I don't know why I had to own that.
I remember purchasing I'm a freshman in high school. I have $100 from my Catholic confirmation. And I purchased the $120 Trigun box set. And I remember being with my father, who had to drive me to the mall to pick this up. And my father looking at me and going, "This is all of your confirmation money." And I'm like, "Yep."
What is Trigun?
Trigun is an anime with a man with big hair, and he shoots guys.
So it's an anime. Okay, got it.
Grandpappy Crodad in the chat says, Trigun, I just finished it for the first time a month ago. So good. I can't imagine it holds up. Okay. The next day, Clark visits Chloe at the Torch and finds that Lex gave back the computers. She guesses he felt guilty about firing her dad. Chloe confesses that she feels like maybe she deserved what Molly did to her as penance for what she did to Clark. Clark assures her that he is partly to blame for pushing her away. He admits that Chloe found him at his weakest moment in Metropolis, and she gave him a second chance, and he owes her the same. They agree that while they can't forget what has happened, Chloe will stop trying to add Clark up and take him as he is. And their friendship is renewed. And the needle drop here is Hoobastank's The Reason. I think we'll talk about that when we get to...
So bad.
Damn it.
So bad. Someone in chat said that their family has the Lost box set. I can bring out all the Lost DVDs too if you want. They're right over there.
I have several Lost box sets.
Do you think the needle drop is bad, or do you think that the song "The Reason" by Hoobastank is bad?
I think the song is bad. The needle drop is.
The song was hot. I had that CD.
Hit.
Yeah.
It was a huge hit. I was never a fan of that song, personally.
And you were right. Okay. And you were correct.
We disagreed on a really fundamental issue.
You think the song is good, but the needle drop is bad.
I think that the needle drop happens in a weird place because it happens before the interaction between. It doesn't happen during the like apology scene. It happens in the entire scene, through the entire scene before that, which is not an apology scene. So it's like, why is this song playing until a whole scene later when it makes sense?
That's a great point.
And that felt weird to me because like that song is like iconic apology song, which makes sense in that scene where they're like reconciling, but doesn't make sense, which I think the scene before it is with Lana and the other guy who's Adam or whatever.
Wait, Adam. But isn't he apologizing? Kind of? They're reconciling.
I don't remember specifically what the scene was, but I remember feeling like
you're right. That's when she's showing him the apartment. That's not an apology.
So it's not. Right. So I was looking for the apology aspect of that scene because that song was playing, and I was like, so why did that needle drop happen there instead of before the apology happened? Because like there's no reason to have that song playing if there's no apology happening. That's what that song is.
Yes. So they were
and
foreshadowing.
It's the
Apologies
most iconic and best apology song of all time.
And the reason is you.
And I won't let you take that from me.
Lex approaches Dr. Garner and warns him against any further attempts on Chloe's life, who, I cannot stress enough, is a child. He admits to having stashed Molly away somewhere safe with this, once again, life-changing brainwashing technology. Then just game-changing.
Yes.
Game-changing brainwashing technology.
You could take over the world with this technology.
Any crime committed, anyone in prison would have to be able to be like, I was brainwashed, and that would have to come up.
Right.
Then he blackmails him, Lex, with Chloe's article. He threatens to have it published unless Dr. Garner helps him recover his 7 weeks of missing memory, which for Lex is learning Clark's powers.
Yes, and that his dad is evil genius.
Right.
Wow. Hey, we did it. We got through the episode.
We got through it. We did it.
I think we still got a half hour left before we're going to hit that 3-hour mark, which is the sweet spot.
I got things to talk about is the thing.
I was interrupted when I was trying to talk about The Reason by Hoobastank.
Do you have more to say about The Reason by Hoobastank? Because, like, okay, real fast, we got some featured music this week. We have Try by Nelly Furtado. I don't remember that in the show, but that was a big hit. We have So Damn Lucky by Mr. David Matthews.
Oh, this is a big episode.
This is a big music budget episode. And then, of course, we have The Reason by Hoobastank, an album that I owned and then later sold. And when I said, like, yeah, I didn't know what I was doing, the lady at the record shop was like, we all make mistakes.
All I'll say is the song. I'm not the album. The one song that I know, makes me feel sorry when I hear
it. I will say,
me too, but for different reasons. Yeah. I think.
I will say on the album, I only liked the track "Spinning Out of Control," which is not a good track, but like when you're 17. There were some interesting notes here, guys. The title "Delete" it means to erase something out of existence.
Thank you.
And then noted in the wiki, it may also refer to Molly's wish to eliminate Chloe.
Double meaning, those clever sons of bitches.
Real clever. Okay. It is according to the wiki, it is very unusual for Chloe, a student columnist, to have her own desk at a big city newspaper. However, as Max puts it, Lionel does have a big influence.
Oh, they heard us complaining about that, and they were like,
Right.
Obviously, you're not paying attention.
In reference to the title, Arizona says, like how I wish to delete the last 2.5 hours, I'm going to throw out there, I don't know what you like about this. if this wasn't good, I don't know what the show is.
I do like the commitment of Arizona commenting as if they have to be here. Which no one said they do.
You could, in fact, log off.
Arizona's doing a book report on this podcast.
Jonathan Kent has a non-speaking role in this podcast. I do not know what's about to follow. I'm about to cold read the following sentence. It is odd that the deadly emails from Molly could only be opened once. If it worked twice, Clark would have killed Chloe there and then when they are investigating the barn.
Oh, interesting. Wow, that whole thing just fell right apart.
Yeah, right? So, Brainwave, which is Molly's computer handle in this episode, is a DC Comics villain. It does not say in the wiki that is specifically a Superman villain. However, they are a Justice Society of America villain, of which Superman is a part of. Okay, Adam walks through the halls of Smallville High and says the classic line, "It's a bird." This is a catchphrase from the immensely popular Superman radio program. It's a bird, it's a plane. No, it's Superman.
I don't think that was intentional.
I also did not pick that up at all, and when I read that for the first time, went, I don't know.
No, I don't know. Because if it's not followed by "it's a plane,"
right,
it doesn't really count.
Cam, we like to track lines that allude to like Clark's gonna be Superman at one point. Do you think that counts?
No.
Does it feel warranted contextually for him to say it's a bird otherwise?
It does.
Yes. Then no, I don't think
that
doesn't feel like that.
It's literally did not occur to me at all in the line.
If it's shoehorned in there,
right? Of which they do.
Or if he was pointing to a bird that was right behind Clark, and it looked like he was pointing at Clark. It's a bird. That's an
It's one. For the reference here, he's making fun of Smallville High for going too hard on their logo of the crow, which is the crows, and so he points of like, "Oh, what's your mascot? It's a bird." So like, I don't know, maybe. But I think it sounds very stretchy to me.
Jury says no.
Here's something that's interesting to me. Martha's email address in this episode is cnh320@instamail.org. CNH320 is the license plate number of the car driven by John Schneider in Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh, that's cool.
That's a certainly intentional little whatever.
Yeah.
Let's see. Clark's email address is c-kent@svhigh.com, which is nothing.
SV High?
Brian, I appreciate that
Smallville.
normally you read like
school?
normally you read one of these or two of them, and like because everyone's complaining this is taking so long, you're reading every single.
There are more interesting ones in this one than there are normally. And then the final one, the fifth and final, Zach, Evangeline Lilly.
She must have been during the fight in the background or something.
It's just in the high school. In the background. Evangeline Lilly makes her fifth and final appearance as an extra on Smallville. This episode aired January 28th, 2004. I looked up beforehand. Lost would debut September 2004.
Yeah, I knew that Lost was, so she was like filming the pilot or like right around that.
Right. It's her life was changing. Her life was changing in a very big way when filming this episode.
Do you think J.J. Abrams, when he was casting Lost, saw her Smallville tape? Was like, she was really good in the background.
Earnest answer? No, not at all.
That wasn't on her reel?
I don't think so. Cam, where can we find you on the internet?
You could find me on the internet at Cam M. Godfrey on all social media platforms.
Hell yeah. Thank you for hanging out with us. This is the Talon Mix. It's a Smallville recap podcast, apparently for nobody. Sometimes, but apparently for nobody, based on the chat reactions to this episode. I had a great time. This is one of my favorite ones maybe we've ever done. I love this one so much, and chat hated it. But Zach, do you have a question for the Smallville gods?
I do, but first I wanted to make an offer to chat. I know it's been a long night, but if you want to stick around for like 2 minutes after we end the official podcast, I'm about to clip my cat's fingernails. And I think that would be a fun thing to watch because I put them in a little blanket and they sit there and they hate it. So if you want to stick around after that, please do. My question for the Smallville gods is this episode is going to clock in at 2 hours and 40 fucking minutes. Are we going to ever top that? Are we going to make a longer episode than that on this show?
Yes, because when you have me for season 4, I'm going to talk about Jensen Ackles for 4 straight hours.
Great. Well, let's hear what the Smallville gods think, though.
Good night, everybody.